Since we recorded this video, Paul McNeil has officially made his decision on whether he's returning to NC State. But when Casey and I sat down, that decision hadn't been made. So this gives you a real look at what players were thinking before it happened. Yo, what's good, Pack Nation? Welcome to Packin with Gary. Today, this one right here, this is different. We had a lot of conversations on this channel, but today marks the first. Okay, this is the first time that we actually sitting down with a former player. All right, somebody who's really lived it, competed at the highest level in college basketball, won championships, knows what it takes behind the scene. We ain't just talking about anybody, right? We kicking this off with a guy who brought the toughness, straight grit every time. Every time he stepped on the floor for the Wolfpack. I'm talking about none other than ACC champion Casey Morsell. Casey, what's good, man?
What's up, Gary, man? Appreciate you having me. Huge
Man, I
fan of the
appreciate you
show.
coming on, man. This is big. You are first, so that's always gonna go down in history. As we continue to grow here, I'm gonna have to always refer back. Casey started out for us. So I really, really appreciate that.
Nah, man.
I want to talk about, your journey, just some things that maybe you remember from your time, at NC State, and then we're gonna talk about, things you got going on now as well. Um, but first off, look, I want to talk about my man Paul McNeil. Okay,
For
he
sure.
been stalling us out, and the way he doing this is crazy. And I'm like, I'm not gonna ask you necessarily to, comment on where you think his head at and any of that is, but what I want to know is for you. Can you go back and think about like what was most important to you when you were trying to pick your place? When you were in the portal and you were deciding, where you're gonna come to us, like was it about the fit? Was it about the opportunity, the NIL? Let me know. What was it that sort of was the deciding factor for you?
Yeah, so when I entered the portal, it was around 2021. So I think that was around the time when NIL was first had like became legal. Like it was the first time. So when
Okay,
I was in the portal, no, it was so new that like that wasn't even a conversation ever.
got
You
you.
know what I mean? It wasn't even that wasn't even a conversation. But in terms of, of course the NIL stuff has grown since then. And now it has a huge impact on decisions. But for Paul in particular, I think it's not like I understand both sides to it, right? I understand like the loyalty piece from the state fans, but at the same time, I mean, you know, he just had one of a huge breakout season from
Hmm.
Will Wade, and even though I know it's like he left Will Wade and that staff left the way they did, like it's one of those things where having three staffs is not easy. Like that's a tough thing to
Yeah,
do. And I think it's he's in one of those positions where it's like, you know what you're gonna get if you go else, you know what I mean? If you go to LSU, but if you come back to state, it's kind of like you are taking a risk, but you have the community embracing you, and you get to be that legend, be that guy.
hmm,
At the same time, I would say too, when it comes to Paul, I think Paul kind of we he has strengths and weaknesses, right?
yeah,
And sometimes some systems could do a better job of hiding things, as more than others, right? So you kind of it's not as easy as just like I understand like the selfish, like, okay, like Paul be he needs to come back, and that's what you want, but at the same time too, you're a state fan, you don't want to lose out on high value, valuable pieces,
right.
trying to it's like I said, like time is still ticking, and there's still plenty of options out there. So
Yeah.
I don't know if that answers
Um,
your question.
no, you did, but you hit on a lot. Like, so since you touched on some stuff, I want to follow up. Like
Hmm.
you mentioned, you know, uh, third staff. right? How difficult that can be. Well, unless he goes to follow Wade, he gonna be dealing with a third staff anyway, right? So I'm like, all right, you go to another school, boom, you're dealing with third staff. His only option if he don't want to deal with a third staff is to follow this man to LSU. Now let me tell you, as a Pac fan, us fans, man, like it's not about him leaving, but to follow that man the way he just dipped out on us in the middle of the day and left the car at the airport, like that's I feel like you can go it's two places you don't need to go. Where Matt Abel went, and I ain't even gonna talk about him right now because he's wilding. But in the other spot is Baton Rouge. Wolfpack fans, if you want more than just surface level content, this is for you. PWG Certified gets you badges, emojis, early access, and den polls. Elite Film Room gives you extended breakdowns, depth charts, scholarship analysis, and recruitment reactions. Untouchable is Inner Circle, monthly recruiting lives, priority access, and voting power of future content and interviews. Hit the join and let's build the den. All of these other schools, you can go. If Paul was like, hey man, they throwing me crazy money, y'all can't match it. I'm gonna go to UConn or Michigan or some mess like that, and you're gonna compete. I'm gonna be able to compete for a championship or whatever it is. State fans not gonna be really mad at that. But at this point, this LSU talk is wild.
Yeah,
And you done stalled us out. If he had made that move early, okay, we could have got man got over it. Now you done strung us along for weeks. We on
true.
like week 3 or 4 at this point. Why?
That's
Why?
yeah,
That's
yeah,
what that's what's bothersome.
for
Um,
sure. Yeah.
I don't get that part.
See,
Now,
but and I think honestly, like, if, it's one of those things. Like, if you state, like, I just think you kind of gotta make that ultimatum. Like, look, give a deadline. Like, we need to know
yes.
by this day, this time. Take it or leave it. Like, I mean, at some point, because you don't want to be, getting in July, June, July. I don't know when you got to make a decision about it, but like, around the time when workouts are starting, and then you still kind of waiting out. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's,
Okay. All right.
for
As
sure,
long as you feeling where we coming from, because that's
for sure, for sure.
this is wow. Okay. Um, all right, so you talked about, the switching up and then deficiencies and what, different systems can hide and things like that. So from a player perspective, a lot of people are saying, look, Paul, your feedback is your defense is weak, right? You're not locking anybody up. So now you have a coach that is coming in with a defensive mindset. He has a reputation of being, a defensive type coach. Would you not want to play for somebody like that that would help you shore that up? Or do you still want to try to be like, look, I need to play to my strengths instead of somebody working on my weaknesses? What do you think from a player perspective?
Yeah, and that's the decision. It depends on the player, right? Like,
Yeah.
some players are like, look, I need to, I want to be challenged on that end. Like, I want to, compete on that end, right? And I'm sure, just based off of what I know from, even playing against Tennessee, and people who know Justin, like, it's going to be like defense, like heavy, heavy defense. Like, defense first is going to be like the identity, and you know, it's one of those things. Like, I think personally, and I could be wrong, but I think personally, like, if it's going to be one of those things where if you're not guarding, you're not playing. Like, that's how I see it
Right.
here at State. Like, if you're not guarding, you're not playing, and it's it's a quick, you got to get it quick, because that season come out or comes by pretty quick. So
Mhm.
I think, like, if you kind of know that, it's like, it's do you try to challenge yourself and take the leap of staying here, but also too, on the offensive end, you really don't know what you're going to get too. Like, you don't know what the full scheme is until the entire team is together. Like, you can try to do one thing, but it might not fit kind of the identity of the team. You know what I mean? And I think that's what happened with us in 2024 when we played. Like, we tried to be fast, run, up and down,
Mhm.
and we just never mastered it. We were never we never got it going. So once we kind of flipped to like our identity, that's when things started clicking for us.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean that makes sense. You gotta. I could see Paul being like, "Look, you trying to tell me my minutes might be impacted because of my defense." I can see that being a big problem. But at the same time, from a fan perspective, I love that. Right, we
yeah,
just dealt with a team that can't play defense. Like
sure.
they were struggling. Now you get one that you're like, yo, at least we know we're gonna lock up. I'm cool with that. Like,
Yeah,
and appreciate a coach that holds his players to a standard, right? It's like, regardless, yeah, we know you might got the most NIL, but if you're not doing what you're supposed to do, you can come sit down beside me. I like that.
facts. Because
Yeah.
that's how it was. That's how it was at Tennessee. I know for sure. Like
Okay.
they were, defense first off. If the fact is he was the, next in line at Tennessee, like I mean, that's they're gonna be heavy defense for sure.
All right.
Like it's not
So
gonna
let
be
me
like
ask.
last year. It's not gonna be like last year because last year it was, we want guys who have a elite offensive ability, and then
Mhm.
we'll just teach defense second. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
And that was like the thing last year, and I think this year it's kind of like the opposite. Like we're gonna get guys who can guard, and then our defense is gonna lead to our offense.
Okay.
I think I just based off of what I think.
All right. Well, we want to know what you think. So, okay. So let me ask you this. When you were at state, was
Yeah.
there a thought of you, sort of giving up on us and transferring out?
I mean, look, I think at to a point, like it's human nature, right? Like you get fillers and you have people, especially who reach out to your parents and friends and everybody in your circle. So you're always aware, right, of like a potential option or something else that's next. Like you know what I mean? Or that could potentially a potential offer. Without even, a school technically reaching out to you directly, right? Like, it's just if you're human, you have somebody that you talk to, like so,
Yeah.
I think from I think, and this is for all of us. Like, I think from a financial perspective, like, is there a quote unquote, a school that wants to pay more? Like, potentially, yeah. So like, they're like that could always be an option, but in terms of like fit, be like embracing, like being, fitting in like the community and just all that, like all these other, you know, and then plus thinking about life after basketball too, right? Like having a place you can come back, come home
Mhm.
to, and
Mhm.
be part of alumni events and stuff. Like it's
Yeah.
bigger than basketball, and I think that's why I think those pieces are much more valuable than a certain dollar amount. So and I think that was the risk of coming back for the next year, but it all worked out. I think that was just like another piece of good karma for our team. It's just like, guys were really here because they really wanted to be here. Like it wasn't
Yeah.
any sort of dollar amount that led anybody here.
Right.
Really.
I got you. Well, we appreciate you for doing that. If you
Hey
haven't
man.
been told, we appreciate that move. Um, so let me ask you this, man. So as a player, what did you have to be sort of honest with yourself about to actually start to get better? Like, was there something where you may have felt like,
Yeah.
oh, I don't really have to work on that, but then eventually you really had to, take care of that to become a better player?
Like what did you have to work on to like fully get
Yeah, to
better?
get to take that next step because you made some
Yeah,
strides from when you first, got in college to your senior year. So what was it
for
that you had
sure. I
to do?
think yeah. I think just it's a few things, but yeah, I think just knowing I think figuring out what your identity is, right? Like,
Okay.
I think for me, from the very first time I got into college, like, you know, it was like I was heavy defense. I was always defense first. I made sure that, like, I was kind of like a defensive anchor, making sure that everybody was good on the defensive end. So yeah, that was pretty much my role. And then on the offensive end, it was, more like, being able to, of course, stretch the floor, but also try to, put other guys in position to be, successful. And that doesn't mean always by getting an assist. It was like, okay, do I set a screen, right? Or, if DJ's, in the post, let's try to move people away so he could just have a one-on-one matchup. Or,
Okay.
if it's a ball screen, making sure that like things are clear on, just so I think that was just kind of like my role, and then from there that led to like a lot of easy opportunities for me to get opportunities to score. So I think like instead of being a guy that like could just one on one try to go at you, it was just more like, all right, like let's try to clear stuff up for guys to get easy baskets, and then things will open up for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, this is something I just thought about and I've been meaning to ask you, and I've seen you a few times since you graduated, but I feel like during that stretch, during the Final Four run in the ACC championship, you started dunking everything. It was like if you got bang, I'm like, yo, where'd this come from? Was that intentional or what happened around the end there for you?
Crazy. Like honestly, I don't know. Like that's a good point. I think honestly, we just got better. Like we just started feeling better. It was weird. Like we just, you know what I mean? Like we had a credit. We had a great like I don't know, like a massage team, but I think like those first two games, like they really helped us because it was just like we kind of got the engine going, and a lot of teams that we played, they were just so cold, and we could tell that like they had been chilling all before heading into the ACC tournament, or because they
Yeah,
weren't really practicing hard, they weren't trying to get nobody hurt. So for
right.
us, it was just like we just I don't know, it just we kind of had a routine. It was like we always had the late game. We would go play, do
Mhm.
rehab until like 3 a.m., wake up, go to shoot around at like 8, 9 a.m., come back, sleep. Like it was just like we had a routine. Everybody knew what it was. And then it just kind of made us, helped us get momentum. So honestly, my body just felt better towards I mean, I had a little, I had a little, what was it? Thing. I forgot what it's called, but yeah, towards the end, I think the ACC championship, it was like my quad or groin. I had a groin
Oh
thing,
yeah.
but yeah. But it was all good. I mean, it was we were pretty comfortable. We had the lead pretty comfortably when all that happened. So, but
Okay.
yeah, man, we just got better and better, and I think everybody started feeling good. I think because DJ was hurt, Horn was hurt that first game,
Right.
um, and then by the last game, you would have never thought he had an injury. So it
Yeah,
was
yeah.
crazy.
Exactly. It was. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you know, but
Mhm.
uh I had a lot of problems with how Wade approached the team last year, right? I was on my channel. I was going to the pit, trying to ask questions like, why you not playing two bigs and what's going on with the rotation, and then why you pulling Paul when he's hit three shots in a row and he not tired? Like it was a lot that he was doing that made zero sense to me, and his lack of in-game adjustment. I had that same issue with Keats. Other than that stretch y'all had before then, I was like, man, what is this dude doing? He was aggravating me. Okay. And I'm sort of wondering for you, did you feel any of those frustrations with last year's team? And then also during your time at state, did you feel any frustration like that?
No, that's a funny question. I mean, I think like I think Will Wade, I think from what I've seen and what I've heard, I think it is his was a lot of he was a real big statistics guy, right? I think
Mhm.
everything was super calculated, even heading into every game, every little detail of the game was calculated. And I think I think that was their thing last year. Like that was just kind of how that was their identity. Um, from a Keys perspective, though, I think I don't know. Like I think I don't. Mm, I don't know. I don't know where. I think Keys was. Because I really because some games, it, yeah, some games we weren't as sharp. But at the same time, I think for us and I think that this was a coaching thing with Keats. I just think we just got tired. We just got fatigued. I just think we were playing, trying to press and play fast, and um, we weren't going deep. We were going about 6 or 7 deep, like,
Yeah.
and I just think like, like, yeah, should he maybe sub? Like, no, I mean, yeah, sometimes, but it was just like once we changed, and especially in that final run where we started doing a lot of half court stuff, like we were able to play seven, or sometimes 7 to 8, and be just fine. So it so yeah, we just got fatigued, I think, a lot, and then by the time that came, it was like it was nothing. Like we were good. I don't know
Yeah.
if that answers your question, but
No, I mean, I got you. Like you're being nice about it. You give me the nice answer, and that's cool. That's cool. I sort of put you on the spot to have to talk about your coach, but I
it's
understand.
cool.
I'm
Listen,
just like I had the issue with Keith, and I know a lot of fans felt like he was being a little stubborn with like small ball and everything like that. Because after you left, we was right back to being those other teams, right? Like you had Ben playing, and then that pretty much was it. Like we weren't playing like really big lineups, or should I say two bigs really. And so
mhm.
it we just had a real tough season. But I did speak about this in a video recently. Brandon Huntley Hatfield was a bust for us. Now I don't know if you know this guy personally. If you do, I'm sorry. But man, when I tell you he came over and what he did in Louisville, we thought we was about to upgrade. I'm like, yo, I felt like he got Keats fired because if he had been a little bit better, he might have saved his job. But that's neither here nor there. He was just not good. So hey, don't get me on him because we'll be here too long. All right, what I would want to know is about Justin Gainey. All right, we got Gainey now, one of our own. He steps into the building with a whole different, mindset. Have you had the opportunity to like meet with him since he's gotten to state? Has he reached out to you about, coming back to the program and like being involved? Has any of that happened?
um, I haven't talked to him personally.
Okay.
I have, yeah, I have, I went to the facility one time for work, actually, and they were all on Zoom calls. Like
Oh, okay. Going
they were
hard. No,
all, yeah, they were on Zoom calls. They were, working. So I wasn't
mhm.
trying to interrupt and go say what's up to them. But
I got you.
long story short, yeah, I definitely plan on running, being in touch with them pretty soon. Yeah, just to cross paths. I didn't make it to the opening press conference. I couldn't make it, but
Okay.
yeah, I'll be in touch with them soon now for sure.
All right. So, have you had the opportunity to like keep up with what they're doing so far in the portal?
Uh yes. I know who they're getting. How about that? I don't I find out, like, of course, just like everybody else does in terms of the commitments, but
Got you.
I think, they making so many calls and talking to so many different people that it's, unless you're fully in it, like you
Yeah.
don't, it's a lot of different people. And honestly, one thing that a lot of people don't talk about too is that there's a lot of players out here that got multiple different agents claiming to be their agents,
Oh.
multiple different people that's claiming to be their representative. So
Mhm.
it's like, it's a lot to kind of navigate because an agent in college basketball is not something that you need to be licensed for. So you Gary can just say, hey, like, I represent Paul, like,
Gotcha.
like
Gotcha.
it's when I tell you, like, it's kind of it's a mess, and it's all over the place. Like, it's a lot to kind of navigate. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So in terms of me and Justin Gainey, they got a lot to prioritize first. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
I got you. I got you. So tell me,
Yeah.
so since you finding out like us, about, when the signings are happening and who they're actually getting, what are your thoughts on who is actually signed with State right now? What you think about what the work they've done so far?
Um. I like it. It's good that they were able to pick or keep Mikey. Um, that's a um, that's a good big that I think could be pretty effective having one full year to develop. Um, who's the guy from Boise State? I just saw. I'm still learning their names too. I don't.
Me too.
I don't really.
Me
Um,
too.
so yeah, they gotta yeah. I really like a lot of the glue guys that they got. The former McDonald's All American from Maryland. I just saw.
Hmm.
That's a good pick, especially a freshman who I think went for double digits at Maryland. So honestly, to be honest, I haven't outside of those three like of course I seen Mikey when he was at the John Wall, but I saw the other two highlights. I don't really know much outside of their numbers, but
Okay.
um, yeah, I'm still learning about everybody too, though. I'm still,
All right. All right. That's fine.
yeah, I keep I try to stay in the loop.
That is fine. So look, let
What's
me
your
let me
thoughts,
ask you
Gary?
this.
What's your thoughts?
Let's pivot. So if you were building a team out the portal right now,
Yeah,
what's three things that you're looking for? Probably your three top things that you're looking for in a player.
three things you're looking for. Number one, I think, and this is yeah, I think you got to be able to guard, man. I think when it comes down to it, I think the offensive stuff is cool, but and when you really need to win, I think your defense has to be at a high level. And if there's one person out there who, you know, is not on their A game or is lacking there, it's going to be tough to compete. Like you can't just try to outscore everybody and try to get very far. Um,
Yeah.
of course, and I'm just talking. Of course, like character, nice person, like good family and everything like that. That's of course that too. Um, but also, I will try to get a 3 and D, like a guy who's a 3 point specialist. When I say like a Paul McNeil like type, who can also guard on the other end. I think that's very important too. Like you got to have a consistent knockdown shooter who can stretch the floor. Um, and honestly, next thing too is lastly you got to have your go to player. Like you got to have your go to um, yeah, you gotta have your go-to player who could break you down and make plays late clock. I know in this NIL era, like it's you depending on budgets and what that looks like, you might not get that depending on what because there's some schools who can afford 8 go-to player, like so that's kind of the tricky part of like this whole NIL stuff, but if not that, I mean, I think those are my top three. Fourth would
Okay.
maybe be like a good big, but with depending on budgets too, it's like there's only so much you kind of ask for. So, but I think the reason why I say big's fourth is just because you can find you like a solid big with size that could just like deflect shots or make it, tough. You don't have to get you like a go-to
Hmm.
scoring big, like I think you could just kind of get you a big that could just, make shots tough, finish possessions, help you finish possessions, hold teams to one shot and done, right? Like that's a great big. Like Mo Diarra, like he was a great big because he just we were good at holding teams to one shot and done. And rather than helping teams get second, third, fourth opportunities for getting offensive rebounds every day. So that's why
Yeah.
I say bigs are fourth.
Okay. I got you.
Yeah,
Not because you were a guard, but just because of that.
yeah, man, just because of that,
I got
man.
you. I got you. Um, all right. So,
Yeah.
tell us, more about what you got going on now, right? Like what are you into now? I've seen, a couple interviews. I know you got like a camp coming up and some stuff like that, but what else is going on?
Yeah. So my day to day, I do commercial real estate. That's what I do.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I got into that with through NIL and all that kind of stuff. So
Okay.
Actually, one of our restaurants is actually the Pit, so shout out the Pit, and that's why, you know,
Ah, okay.
yeah. So that's
Gotcha.
how we had the show there and everything. But
Okay.
honestly, yeah, I do have the camp. Camp is August 3rd through the 7th of August. Yeah, August 3rd through the 7th.
Okay.
And honestly, what it started in college when I was playing in college, and I wanted to create a setting where kids could essentially build relationships with players beyond like a typical like meet and greet, because this is when NIL became a thing, and I was just like, like the meet and greet is cool, but like we really don't know, the youth in the community, and the week long camp is intentional. It's a way for kids to, to not only not only train and meet, but also get coached by some of your favorite players that you see on state's team, former state players, current state players. We're gonna try to get people from the current states, current when I say current, like 2027 NC State team, and
Mhm.
staff to show up as well. So it's honestly just building this community, in the community, and or yeah, building this community within the youth. And yeah, man, it's I've been fortunate for this to be year 4, and it's been growing ever since.
Cool, cool. Now, I did hear that this camp like sells out. Is it sold out already, or people can still sign up?
It's close, man. It's close. It does sell out, and we're on track to sell out for a 4th year in a row. So,
Oh,
if
that's
you're watching
nice.
this, please, hurry up. But it's a great experience. The kids, meals are included in the experience, but the biggest thing is you get to also just train, watch film, like learn how college basketball works, because at the end of the day, like it's not as simple as just showing up to a packed arena and playing the game. Like this is it's a real lifestyle. So that's all
Yeah.
we try to embody in a week.
Okay. And I remember as a kid going to basketball camps. Like you had your different ones. You had like your day camp where your parents drop you off. You go to camp and then they come pick you up. Is this one where they're spending the night for those 4 days, or is it just a day camp?
Oh, just a day camp. Nah,
Okay.
Gary, like I can't do the whole night. I would
Well,
I'll
see,
be
that's a
exhausted.
lot, man.
I'll be exhausted after a day. Good grief. So
Okay. I
yeah,
understand. I
for sure.
understand. Uh, well, hey, man. Again, I thank you for your time. I appreciate you, coming on, packing with Gary. You always are welcome back. Hopefully we can get you to chime in on some stuff throughout the season, if you have some availability. Um, you got any message for, the Packing with Gary community?
Nah. Um, man, just keep supporting the players, keep supporting the guys, man. I mean, I know it's NC State has, been up and down throughout these past few years, but at the end of the day, like, the players, you know, all the support is much appreciated, and honestly, it could just mean just showing up, man, just showing up to the games. And honestly, I think it's good that everybody's tuning in to watch these shows, because it shows passion. It shows that people care about everything that we put a lot of work into to play at a high level. So, so yeah, just continue, doing what you're doing, Gary. Like, and everybody
Appreciate that.
tuning in, man. Keep showing love to the Wolfpack.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Absolutely. Well,
Sure.
I appreciate you, man. And like I said, I'm gonna hit you up soon and we're gonna talk some more basketball. All
Let's
right.
do it again, man. Let's do it.
All right. Thanks.
Sounds good.